Yes, we are back for another edition of Tiff Tales. Some of you may have viewed the first one where I addressed with Dr. Debbie some of my experiences dating guys that ended up having mental illness. And she gave tips, and we just want to continue that conversation because we believe that discussing openly mental health is very important, and we're going to do our part to erase the taboo. And when life isn't good or we're not feeling good, it's okay to talk about it, whether it's just a normal everyday sadness or where it is on the level of mental health issue. So that's why we're here, especially people of color, women of color. We don't want anybody to be afraid, but also, it's definitely apparent that it's even more taboo in certain cultures. And so we just want everybody to feel open to have these discussions. Also, feel free to tag Red Table Talk or Red Table Talk Challenge, because there is a challenge to have these open discussions, and we want people to see. So yeah, I do my comedy sketches and short films and skits, but one of my segments is Tiff Tales, where we talk openly. Sometimes it's just stories of stuff that actually happened, but again, today it's mental health. And I wanted to throw it to Dr. Debbie. These are my friends since college, Monique and Debbie. We call each other college sisters. Mm-hmm. And we're always there for each other as we go through different moments, highs and lows, milestones of all kinds. And in our private conversations, we noticed a connection. Of course, we're three women, three walks of life, three chapters, different chapters in life. But one thing we all have in common is we had either traumatic or just a monumental moment in our life, and it affected us in a somewhat similar way, being what would be called a mood disorder. And Dr. Debbie is going to give a brief explanation of what that is, and then we'll tell our stories, and then she'll give us tips and commentary from a professional standpoint, and then we'll be out of your way. But please share if it's private, in a private message, or someone that you know has dealt with fertility or coping with food or postpartum. Please tag them, share it with them. We don't want our stories and what we went through to go to waste. At least out of an unfortunate situation, we want something good to come out of it, whereas somebody that's going through it, went through it, or may go through it in the future can have a point of reference to say, I am not alone. Mm-hmm. So please share. And then I'll turn it over to Dr. Debbie.
Hi everybody. So mood disorders are actually really common in the general society. And all of these mood disorders, a lot of times we can think, do I have this disorder? Do I have issues with being bipolar? Do I have issues with being depressed? Because that is just our natural frame of living. Mood disorders are not something that is too extravagant or too far off the deep end, but because we all have a mood, we all have happy times, we all have sad times. So we have a general range of emotions that we normally have. We can feel really sad about something that's taken place, the death of a loved one, loss of a job, something traumatic that happened in our life. So we go through a period of sadness, and that's a normal way of being. We can have periods of very high, very happy times in our life. Heaven forbid the Jaguars should win the Super Bowl. Ooh, once in life, please. Period. But the Jaguars win the Super Bowl, you got that job, you started that blog, and that vlog has gone to thousands of people around. Something that just brings so much joy and elation. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a natural way of being. Where it becomes a disorder is when it goes beyond those normative times in your life, when something takes place that does affect your mood. When your mood is just changing from left to right, and there isn't anything that's really pushing that change in your mood, when you're in a period of sadness or happiness for an extended period of time, way beyond the normative range of how you should be feeling after a situation, and when you're in those deep parts of your emotions and it's causing other impacts in your life. So you're not able to meet with your friends anymore, you're not able to go out, or you can't be around your friends because you get irritated or agitated, you can't do your job, you can't function with your family. When those things start to have impairments that's when you are most likely having a disorder. And so the disorders can be anything from real deep depression to real big times of elations. So many people might hear of the term bipolar disorder. You may know someone who has bipolar disorder, but there are two different types in the bipolar spectrum. So you always want to make sure that you're not generalizing people, even people that have bipolar disorders, because they do present with their symptoms very differently. We also need to start being more aware to not use the term bipolar in a general colloquial sense, or to be mean towards somebody like, oh, that girl crazy, she just bipolar. No, there are people that really do suffer with these types of symptoms, and we have to show a lot of care and a lot of concern to them, because they don't have any real triggers that can take them very high or that can take them very low. And the most dangerous times for them as people is when they're making that switch from low to high, because that's when they're most likely to be victims of committing suicide or attempting suicide. So mood disorders are simply when your mood has impaired various aspects of your life for an extended period of time. That's when you know you're possibly having a disorder. But please make sure that you go and seek a professional and get that properly diagnosed. Do not go home and self-diagnose. Do not go on WebMD or psych.org and try to diagnose yourself. There's so many different factors that can go into it. There's also this one disorder that is high functioning depression, where people who are dealing with depression, but they are able to still, what we would say, function, but they're really not functioning, and they are less likely to get help for their situation. And so when you see people who have committed suicide just out of the clear blue, and you're like, but they were never depressed, or I never saw any of those things, chances are they are what we call high functioning depressants. They were dealing with major depression, but because they were still able to function as what we would term normative, they never went out to seek help. So knowing these things and being okay to seek help for that is definitely a good thing for you to have and to know.
Thank you so much. Anything else you want to add?
Look for some of the signs and symptoms. If you have a friend that is typically very outgoing, or you guys talk all the time, or maybe they're an introvert but you guys normally talk on a regular basis, and for a continuous period of time you see that they're not responding to you, or they're not reaching out to you like they normally would, reach out. There is something going on, and when a person is in depression, they are very less likely to reach out to people. Also, if you have a friend that you see at some days they're just going, and then some days they've just really stopped functioning and they're very irritated, again, understand that this might be something that is going on with them, and this is a chemical imbalance, and give them support as they need that support, because they may be someone who is suffering with bipolar, and it's not a funny thing. It's something that they really cannot control. It is something that is going on chemically, and so they do need that support more than ever when they're going through those different changes.
Thank you so much. And sorry guys, I'm looking down because I was trying to share it also, so don't forget to share. I'm about to share it in our event page. So I guess we're going to have Monique kick it off.
Sure. So what I went through, my personal journey, I got married at a young age, you know, my high school sweetheart in my 20s, and I know what normally comes after you get married is baby, right? Well, we kind of didn't want to do that right away. We wanted to have fun. We were still young and in love, and you know, we just knew when the timing would be right, the timing would be right. And funny to say, but I had my baby urgency while, don't laugh at me guys, but when Beyonce showed her baby bump, I was like, if Beyonce
can have a baby,
can like do everything and have a child, what am I waiting for? But
right.
So I mean, it kind of just made me feel some type. But then I had the serious talk with my husband, you know, and you know, we're like, I guess we're ready, you know what I mean? Let's do this, you know, we can do this. And so, you know, got off the birth control, and year one rolled by, and I'm like, well, you know, I was on birth control for a long time, so it's okay, right? And then year two rolls around, and still no you. So by year 3, we finally decided. I had the conversation with him, and let's check us out. Let's see what's going on. And I went to a fertility clinic, and he was fine. It was me. I was diagnosed with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Pretty much it's like a hormonal disorder, and the side effect that's for me is it makes it hard for me to have a baby or possibly even to conceive at all. My ovulation would be always an issue. So we went to the fertility clinic, got diagnosed, and we proceeded to go down the journey of extensive, which was like over a year of, I had to go on a strict diet, no carb, no sugar. Lost a ton of weight on that to where I was almost like bony. Yeah, you remember, right? I had to take a pill that was for diabetics, and I'm not a diabetic. I had to have an outpatient procedure to check to make sure my insides were good. I went through a lot of different type of testings and trials, all the way up until we got to IVF. And when we got to IVF, I hesitated. And I thought it was just the frugal in me saying, oh, that's a lot of money. But it really wasn't that. It was me realizing that it's a possibility that if that doesn't work, I can't have a kid on my own. And I was devastated. And it was making me feel like, well, if I can't do it, then I'm not a woman. Now that's not true, but that's how I felt. And so I didn't do it, and it put me in a sad place to where I was very happy for people who had children, but when I went home, I would be emotionally sad, like, why can't I? Like, I went to this selfish place. Had some beautiful women in my life offer to be surrogates. I've had people offer and talk about adoption. That was just not something we equally wanted to do. Me and my husband, we wanted it to be us or none, and that sounds how it sounds, but that's just how we wanted to do it, right? I got a little sad, and I was in a dark place for a very long time. I was functioning, I put on a smile. It's our private thing, and I finally had to learn that there's a possibility I won't have children, and I had to learn why be sad about it. How can I figure out, I needed to change it. I needed to change the story of how can I turn this into a positive. And so I started talking to women that were older than me, that were beautiful women in my life that didn't have children. And what happened, and they let me know too that they went to a dark place and they felt like they weren't a woman, you know what I mean? And so they came to the conclusion that they had to find purpose. So I had to dig on what my purpose would be, and I love helping people, and I realized that I don't have to be a mother to be around children. And that is through volunteering, starting up organizations, and legacy isn't just your children. It's things like Tiff Tales, you know what I mean? Like the things that you're doing is going to be a legacy for you. And so I decided to do stuff like that as well. And lastly, being okay. And when my husband let me know that we would be fine even with or without children, I slowly started coming out of that dark place. And I had to realize that children don't make you happy, you make you happy. But it's real. Women out there, if you talk to women that don't have children, and maybe you had a hard time going through fertility, and then you do conceive, don't forget about us. A lot of times we kind of come together with groups of women that, we're all going through it, and we talk out tips and stuff, and then when one gets pregnant, they leave the group. And then slowly you're left last man standing. And I don't think it's intentional. I just think it might even be guilt. I can't speak for them, but I feel like it might even be guilt. I have a child, I don't want her to feel bad, but we just feel left alone. And that was hurtful too, and there wasn't anything on the person. It's just, again, you can't control how you feel. That was my story. I'm in a much better place. I don't have kids, but I'm okay. We're in a place where if we don't have kids, or if we do, it's God's plan. And I had to accept that that's that journey for me. But it took a process. I think I went through this for a full 5 years of just back and forth, figuring out if I want to try it again or not. But finally coming to the end of the rainbow, being happy with no matter what I'm going to be.
That's beautiful. It was so beautiful what you were saying, that children don't make you happy, you make you happy. And if you do have children, it'll be just an extension of happiness.
Right.
But that it starts with you, I think that's really going to help some people. So, wow. all.
By the way, that is true. By the way, that is so true. I literally got my life at that moment.
Oh my goodness. No, if there is an inspiration to be had, her photo shoot was a good one. It was bomb. But we're beehives, so well I am.
Absolutely.
Okay, well I guess I will get into my bout with mood disorder. And I knew when I had the Tiff Tale segment I wanted to speak to weight loss. I've been getting a lot of encouragement and feedback and just people saying I'm inspiring them, and you know, I've always been a person that fluctuated with my weight, and I thought it would be important for me to share what was the difference this time and why I was able to lose the amount I did, which is 40 pounds and counting. Woo! Thank you.
What you doing? Getting fine.
And
Thrifty Tuesdays, check it out.
yeah. My friends are the best hype women ever. But yeah, getting it off and keeping it off, and what the difference was this time for me, it was kind of a perfect storm, I guess you could say, because from being younger, first of all, for those that do the 16 personalities, I'm the protagonist. So with that is people pleasing, sometimes to an unhealthy amount, and just, which we'll say for another Tiff Tales,
Yes.
my journey ended up, well, by the time I was an adult, I was an extreme people pleaser. Fast forward to college, and I had never really struggled with my weight as a child. Like, my metabolism was pretty decent. I graduated high school a size 6'5", and I had never been more than that ever. Get to college, meet my college sweetheart. Same time that's happening, freshman 15 is happening, and it made me realize that it was kind of a negative feedback type of situation, because obviously men are visual, but there was, in that relationship and a few future relationships, extreme pressure, I guess you would say. And maybe extreme isn't the fair word. I just internalized it as extreme pressure. But there was definitely, it was vocalized if I gained weight, it was vocalized that it was noticed. And there was twice that I was actually dumped because of weight gain. You know, one guy, he's just flat out, well, I'm not attracted to you anymore. And then the other guy, we were having issues. And when he broke up with me the first time, because we were kind of on and off, but the first time that he broke up with me, he said, well, I was trying to make it work, but you know, we keep arguing, and then I would have tried to make it work, but then you also gained weight too. So it was kind of like, that was vocalized as the reason that he didn't want to continue to try to make it work. And for somebody like me, it took me to a very dark place, and then that relationship was off, and then it went back on. And so when it went back on, it was like, oh, well, this time I'm going to make sure I make it work by losing this weight. I'm going to make sure I make it work by being, you know, having the body that he desires. It ended up being a negative feedback thing, because I would do good for a while, but then if anything else in life happened, whether I felt like I was not pleasing him in another area, or there was a few deaths in my family at the time that these things happened, and instead of staying away from food or being disciplined, I would turn to food for comfort, because I would, you know, have this extreme sadness of not pleasing my man / people close to me are, you know, dying. And so it was just more of course we have cravings and we all like to eat, but it was more like, I can't wait to get off of work and get this food and go to my room or go to my apartment and just be alone and just have my meal. And we always joke about, like, some meals you want to eat in private so you can eat messy, but I would kind of eat in private just as my moment, like what some people would call a bubble bath or listening to music. I would just comfort food it out, and in turn it would bring more attention to the relationships, because they would notice the weight gain, and instead of not eating more, I would deal with the stress of disappointing them with my size by eating. And then it made me very aggressive and defensive with family, because different family members would bring up, oh, are you pregnant? You kind of getting big, and so that would just kind of send me to the dark place as well. And it wasn't until, oh man, I want to make sure I say this right. It wasn't until I found a positive motivation to lose weight until it became effective for me, and I was able to consistently be disciplined and find my balance. So speaking from my experience, my advice to anyone is make sure you check yourself as far as asking yourself, why do you want to lose the weight? Is it to catch a man? Is it for your health? Is it just because you want to feel better? You want to enjoy your shopping experience more? If your reason is anything other than, like you were saying, being happy for you, it's going to have some negative effects. Mine happened to be, my depression and coping with food and stuff like that. Once I decided whatever man I'm going to end up with, he's not going to dump me if my weight fluctuates 15 pounds. Whoever I'm meant to be was going to be someone that can appreciate my curves at a size 8 or at a size 14. Not to say I should just completely, I'll be whatever weight I want to be, but my reasons are going to be for me and for me alone that I would choose to lose or gain, not to retain a man. And so once I had that mentality and I started doing more videos and sketches and stuff, and I was like, I want to make sure I can be whatever character I want to be, I don't want to have any limitations. Once that became my motivation, I found a formula that worked for me, and the weight came off, and I was doing it from a happy place and not from a stressful place. And losing weight while you're already happy is such a much more fun experience. And that's my story.
And it worked.
And it worked.
And working.
And working.
We see you. We check.
Seriously, check out Thrifty Tuesday.
Oh,
she shames
Get
all
your
of
life.
us.
Get your life. Chop the life.
Wait, see, I'll see the one for this Tuesday.
Oh, my God. So excited.
Oh, well, here's one I'll show y'all.
Yeah, you guys go like this Thrifty Tuesday.
Did you catch the faces? Did you catch the faces?
Woo!
Okay.
I need to get my life together.
It's our boy.
Yes! Beyonce keeps us going.
Yeah,
But now we'll throw it back to Dr. Debbie. We didn't speak upon her credentials earlier, so please make sure you let them know, where your skills are and what you do and your educational background, because they always bragging on me, but I like bragging on my friends. And this girl has went through years and years of schooling to be able to sit here and provide insight to us. In this segment, it's important not to just have our personal experience commentary, but professional commentary as well. But this particular episode, I'm so appreciative of her for not just wanting to be a doctor, but also being a woman that can speak to other women. She's not only going to give commentary on our experience, but she's going to share a little bit about her own experience and something that so many women have faced. So we're going to throw it to Dr. Debbie.
Thanks. So for everyone to know, I got my Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from University of North Florida. I got a dual master's in childhood development and mental health counseling from Florida International University. And I also got my doctorate in clinical Christian psychology from Jacksonville Theological Seminary. And because I wanted to work more with children who were at risk and wanted to understand the criminal justice system more, I did go back and get a master's in criminal justice as well. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
We are young, but I have been doing counseling now for, oh my goodness, since 2005. So it's been over 13 years now that I've been counseling. So I'm not a young whippersnapper, but
Yeah, you are.
Don't age us. Black don't cry. But that's what they say. But but I have been doing this for 13 years. My personal areas that I do like to focus in is family and marriage therapy and childhood therapy as well. So those are my areas that I like to focus in. Not, I wouldn't call myself an expertise in any specific area. Those just seem to be the areas I end up doing a lot more counseling in. So I've just developed a repertoire in those areas. So yeah, hit me up anytime. I'll be more than happy to work with you. With my background, most of my therapeutic sessions are going to be not only from the psychological perspective, but also from the spiritual perspective. And we use the combination of both to help meet your goals and needs. And the good thing is with Meet It With Me, you don't have to get a formal diagnosis that you have to put on paper and have this trail of paper following you, but you can at least know what it is that you're suffering with and ways in which that you can deal with it. And I don't prescribe medication because I'm not a psychiatrist, so it's just therapy. Though medication is assisting for some people, I wouldn't be the person to go to. So if you do come, I wouldn't be able to prescribe you anything, but we can at least do therapeutic processes together. So doctors get sick. Just so you know, doctors need doctors
you
too.
Don't say.
Yes.
That's what
No, I wish it's just black girl magic, but that doesn't stop the reality of when life takes place. And for me, I've had many years of dealing with different depressive episodes in my life from different and various things that have taken place throughout my life. Moving to a new country, going through several breakups, one being a divorce, almost losing my life when I had my first child. But having my second child really brought about an actual form of diagnosis. Right after having my second child, who is absolutely adorable, he is the sweetest boy in the world, I started to have a lot of doubts. Now, I chalked it up to, well, it's been a while because my eldest is 6. So I was just, second guessing myself on different things. It's been a while. Things have changed. If you go through the baby aisles now, they weren't like what they were 6 years ago. So I was just kind of
apps.
And all the apps. All the apps. Oh my gosh. So I was just thinking, okay, I'm old school. I need to just get back with the times. But then I noticed that I would be afraid to take care of Charles from time to time. And I was sharing with my husband, I don't understand why this is happening. And so I'm like, all right, let me just shake yourself off. I got this. I can do this. I've done this before. I can do it again. But everything, if it didn't go the way that I thought it should, or even just somebody just simply asking a question, not even in a negative or derogatory way, they're just simply asking a question, I would just break down in tears. And I would say, I'm not taking care of my child very well. I'm not taking care of my children. I'm affecting my eldest and he's not getting the care that he needs, and I just can't do this. I don't know why I'm a mother. I don't know why I'm having this child. I don't know why I had this child. I was just questioning everything. And so, we are at the different ends of the spectrum. Monique was at the end of wanting a child and not having a child. I'm at the end of I had a child and I don't even think I should have had a child. And I'm not young. I didn't have my child with a baby father that I didn't know. I'm not a single mother. People looking on the inside would think, why are you even acting this way? There's nothing that's going on that should have you feeling this way. And I said, okay, let me go and talk with someone about it. So I went and spoke with one of my colleagues and I was giving her all of my symptoms. And she said, yeah, you have postpartum depression. And what simply postpartum depression is after you've had your child, you start to experience dire depressive episodes and depression symptoms. Some mothers can have it where they have thoughts that they're going to hurt their child or harm their child, and some can even take it to the point of psychotic episodes, so they do in fact end up hurting their child because of the psychosis that's going on. They can hear voices telling them to harm their child, or voices telling them that they can't do what it is that they are able to do for their children. And so it's a very serious disorder that a lot of times people will just throw it off as being hormones. Even we as the mothers would say, okay, my hormones are out of balance. I need to get my hormones back in check. But no, it Everybody who knows me know that I am a very exuberant, I'm very excited, I love talking to my friends, I love hanging out with my friends, and I went straight cold turkey. I did not speak to anybody. If someone called me, I would not answer the phone. If someone texted me, I would not text back. I literally spent every day just crying.
And as her friends, we assumed you were just busy being mom,
Right.
Didn't think
busy
nothing of it.
being like back to work,
Yep.
and so that's a point to say, don't
Honeymoon
assume with
in,
your friends.
Right.
honeymoon in,
Right.
Yeah, that's what
just
we thought.
happy. We were giving you the space to
Yes,
be
we
happy.
want to be like, okay, come hang out. Right. You know you just had a baby.
Yeah. Right, absolutely.
So we were good friends, for the record.
No, they had no
That's right,
idea.
yeah,
Everybody, they are wonderful friends, and the sad thing is that many times when people go through things like this, as it happened with me, you just lose friends because they think, oh, she's having an attitude, oh, she doesn't want to talk to me anymore, or him. So bump them. I'm going to let them go before they come around and do something negative to me. And it simply was, I did not have the capacity to talk to anybody because I was so depressed. So I ended up losing friends. Of course, now I can say maybe they weren't real friends. As people say, they weren't real friends. I lost family members as well. Like, I still have family members that don't talk to me now. And it's like, I can't go back and say this is what was happening because nobody's answering their phone. But it's okay. I came to the realization by talking with my colleague that that's what was happening. And it felt good because where I'm thinking, okay, my hormones are back in check. It's been 2 months. My son is thriving. I have a good family, regular life stresses, but nothing exuberant. And I was still going through this. So just to know that there was something I could actually see to say what the issue was so healing in itself. And so I was able to start doing the therapy on my own and therapy with my colleague, getting a lot of prayer, getting really back to who I was, and then doing my personal affirmations to help build myself back up. And so now I'm not 100% there, but it is so much more better than where I was at the beginning when I just had my son. And I'm thankful because with every issue that has happened in my life that brought about the depressive episodes, or at this point now postpartum depression, I meet people who have gone through the same exact thing. And I'm like, this is the reason why. I'm a firm believer, as my bishop has said, and as I've always thought, everything that you suffer through is not just for you. It is something that you can use to help somebody else. And that's why we should not suffer alone or suffer in silence. One, because you will not heal if you suffer by yourself.
Right.
And two, you will be surprised to know how many people have gone through what you've gone through, and you can now have that support to move forward. And I agree with Monique. Once you've gotten better, don't leave the people behind who's still going through. Still be there for them and to help pull them through as well. Because where you're thinking, oh, I'm going to make them feel uncomfortable. No, you're being their inspiration. You're still being their support because they've come to depend on you, and you can help to build them up as well too. So postpartum depression is very real. It's very serious because you can end up harming yourself. A lot of mothers do end up attempting suicide in this situation, or they end up hurting their child or attempt to hurt their child. So if you know anybody who just recently have a child, really check on them. Make sure that they are okay, because it can impact any mother. There's even some studies to show that fathers can also experience postpartum depression as well. No, they don't have the hormones, and that's how you know it's not a hormonal thing. It is literally something that is happening to you on the inside with your mind, with your chemical makeup, because this is a very huge experience that happens in your life. Birthing a child, whether you're the mother or the father, that is a big life-changing experience, and that can come with a lot of different ways that you can interact and react to that particular situation.
You know, before you go into any further, I just find it very interesting that we're on the different end of the spectrums.
Yeah.
I have people shy away from me. I feel like out of guilt. Like, they're still my friends. And I just find that interesting where you have this beautiful baby and another beautiful son in your life, and yet you were losing people because you weren't talking to them. I just find that, and then like you said, and then we thought, give me your space.
She's getting settled in, right?
That's really weird. I would never think people would just think, oh, well, she's too busy to talk to you. Actually, we too busy to talk to you. Okay, anyway, I just find that very interesting when you talk about it, that people would think like that. I'm sorry you went through that, but
it's
anyways.
Yeah, it's a sense of entitlement sometimes that comes with friendships and family relationships, that they expect you to be at the level of availability that you've always been, and when you're not, they either take it personally or they just are too selfish to wait it out. So,
and sometimes we also, and this is just a pro tip. And this has nothing to do with mood disorders, but many times people already have feelings towards you that they can't share because they don't have a quote-unquote valid reason to feel that way. And so when something happens on your end, that becomes their tool by which they can say, okay, I'm out because you did this. And you're left thinking, but this was such a small thing. I don't even understand how you can react to it. Many times it has nothing to do with you. And we, and I'm including myself, can start taking it so personally. But what did I do?
Yeah.
How you start second guessing yourself. I thought I did this okay. I thought I said that's okay. I thought I was giving as much of myself as I thought I was supposed to have. But it didn't have anything to do with you. It really was something that they were already experiencing, and once they found their, what we would say, out, their escape, they use that, but then they turn it back on you so that you can take the blame and they don't have to feel like they have to carry any of the blame with them. It happens a lot in relationships when people leave and they say, well, it was because you were doing X, Y, and Z and I can't take any more of your crap, so I'm gone. And you're thinking, but what did I do? Right. This was like one situation that took place. I don't understand why you're reacting so strongly to just this one situation.
That's understandable, by the way. That's very understandable. Meaning, like, what you were going through was very understandable. You know, very explainable.
And it's simply just asking questions. And what I'm working on now is when I don't hear from somebody for a period of time, I now have the tendency of reaching out to make sure I didn't do anything to hurt them because of what happened with the postpartum. And I'm having to relearn, it's okay if no one is talking to you right now, or if you haven't heard from someone in a while, because of the reaction I got to me not reaching out to people. Now when people are not reaching out to me, I feel like, oh my gosh, did I just lose another friend? Did I just lose another family member? Did I say something or do something wrong? But the good thing is with the therapy, and this is why I'm able to say this now, to not take it personally. The people who are going to be in your corner are going to be in your corner, even if you are the ugliest person in the world, in your behavior, in your attitude, and you're the most wonderfulest, perfectest person in the world. Regardless of where you are on that spectrum, they are still going to love you. They're still going to root for you. They're still going to want to be there for you.
Awesome. So again, guys, if you have any questions, you can email MissDevotedTiff@gmail. You can message us on Facebook or comment below. But we did want to give Dr. Debbie a chance to, if she wanted to speak to anything that we said, or speak to you guys about what you can do if you were dealing with mood disorder by way of fertility or by way of pressure in relationships. You can definitely have the floor to speak to those situations.
Absolutely. When it comes to the infertility, and I got to see this firsthand with Monique, she did a fabulous job of just walking through that entire situation, because we do, and this is not a Western culture or an Eastern culture, this is just human nature culture, that if you don't have a child as a woman, something is wrong with you. And it's not. It's not. She is an example of that not being an issue at all. You are a woman because of who you are and because of what you do. And so, number one, I would say that if you feel strongly and you absolutely want to have a child, then of course everyone knows all of the different options. You have IVF, you do have adoption, you do have surrogacy, but you have to really think about all of those different options. What is within your budget? Don't go broke having a child, because you go broke having a child. You understand what I'm saying? Don't go broke having the child, because you will go broke having the child. I have two. My paycheck is no longer my own. It goes to them. So just be aware of that too. Also, support groups. I am an avid believer of support groups, and we have them here in Jacksonville. If you go through a doctor's office, they will also have that information as well. And look up a therapist that you would feel comfortable with, just to work through those issues. Because truly, I can say it, but it's for you to believe it. You are not less than a woman because you are unable to have a child. And even if you've gone through a miscarriage because you were trying, don't get upset with your body because your body was incapable. I have a very dear friend of mine who's gone through numerous of miscarriages, her and her husband, and they recently were able to have a child together. This was her first child, but the baby was born at 27 weeks. I mean, he was just barely over a pound. The doctors gave them so many different bleak diagnoses about what was going to happen to the baby. First, he wasn't going to survive. Then he was going to have all of these different ailments in his life. His lungs wasn't going to develop, all of these different things. But I'm happy to say that the baby is thriving. They were able to take him home. But she went through numerous miscarriages because her body kept rejecting them. But she kept trying. And actually, when she did get pregnant, they really weren't trying. They were kind of just at the point they were like, we're cool. We're not going to have any children. We're good. We're just going to have our careers, but they have wonderful careers, each of them. But they had a child. It's never not too late, but if it doesn't happen, it's still good. And that's where you want to be able to be in life. That if it doesn't happen, wonderful. If it does happen, wonderful. But it doesn't impact your trajectory with life. So get to a therapist, get to a support group. I think this particular one is one of those that really work well with support groups, because it's good to know you are not alone in how you feel, especially with us as women. Now, the coping with food, yeah, I think all of us at one point in life had comfort foods, and we were comforted by food, and we're like, forget the world, I'm going to get my tub of Ben & Jerry's Rocky Road ice cream, and we are good to go. But I think beyond just our churches just say
I just finished mine.
New Year, right? Eating the whole tub in one sitting,
right.
Yes. But beyond the scope of what Tiffany went through with food, it was beyond that. It was the improper way of looking at herself in situations because of low self-esteem. And that can also go into depression as well too. So before you even deal with, well, I'm going to get fined just for me, first deal with the self-esteem. Look into building yourself. You know, it's funny, Cat Williams said this in one of his comedy skits, but he said, how can I impact your self-esteem? It's the esteem of yourself. He used some other pretty... I'm just giving the clean version. But, you know, when he said that, when I first heard him said that, I was like, you know... That's kind of right. That is really true. Yeah. But we do allow so many people to impact our self-esteem. People and situation, society norms, all of these different innuendos, we do allow them to come in and impact our self-esteem. And that can lead to depression. It can lead to different eating disorders. So beyond just coping with food, it can lead to bulimia, anorexia, obesity. All of these different things can happen with going through different eating disorders. And so before you start with the food and saying, okay, I'm going to lose weight for me. Focus on building your self-esteem, because you might find, I don't want to lose weight. I do like the thickness. I do like my curves, or whatever the situation might be. Maybe you really like food and you just now want to eat because you like food. And that's good too. It's all about health. Healthy mind, healthy soul, healthy body. There are some people who are 200 pounds and healthier than a 100-pound person. Weight does have nothing to do with how healthy you are. So don't look at the number on the scale to determine if you're healthy. You have to look at all sorts of different things, your cholesterol levels, your diabetic levels, high blood pressure, hypertension. Those are the different things that are really going to determine your health. Can you bend down and touch your toes?
Right.
Can you stretch? Do you have agility? Those are different things that really determine your health more than anything. Can you walk up 3 flights of stairs without going out of breath? I know some skinny people who can't do that. And I could see some 250-pound people jogging up and down the steps and they're okay. It has nothing to do with your weight. And so I didn't want anybody to hear what Tiffany is saying. It's like, well, I'm going to go and get snatched and stop eating everything for myself. That's not what her point was. No. Her point was simply just stating, now she's doing everything that she's doing for herself. She was able to build up her self-esteem so that whomever comes into her life, they're just icing on an already well-prepared cake. You know those cakes that taste good with or without icing, but then when you put the icing, it just tastes better? Yeah. That's what her life is. She's the cake. She is the red velvet cake.
That's my favorite.
Without any of the other stuff on it. But then, see, and that's okay. But then when the person whom she's to be with comes, he will then become the cream cheese on top of her red velvet cake. Okay. And so that is the main thing that I did want to say, because I can see some people seeing that and seeing that it was only just about eating, and that's just a byproduct. That's just a symptom. It's not the actual issue that was taking place. And so be you and love you, and that takes time. It's not going to happen in a few weeks, just like it takes time to take off weight. It takes time to build up your self-esteem. Focus on that first, and then you'll know what you would have to do with any issues that you have with food. And you might find just by working on your self-esteem, you actually start doing healthy things just as a byproduct. You don't want to eat as much anymore because you're doing more stuff, you're going out more, you're getting more involved, and that just naturally turns into you're not eating all of the weird things that you used to eat, or as much as you used to, because you just don't have the time, because you're out enjoying life and doing life. So work on you first before you do anything else. Yeah.
Just saying hello, hello Maisha Ivy Miller. Thank you for joining us.
Happy New Year.
Does anybody have any questions? We're about to get ready to wrap up if you don't, but thank you for your time and attention. Even if you just strolled by and watched it for a few moments, we hope in that time you were able to take away something for yourself or for somebody else. Let us know what topics you want us to discuss in the future. Myself and Dr. Debbie are going to continue this narrative, whether we're addressing things that we had needed therapy for at some point. You know, I know in the future I want to talk about family dynamics. I want to talk about healthy relationships versus unhealthy relationships. We have a lot of things that we know we want to get into, but we want to hear from you. Absolutely. And if you have something that you would like us to address, if we don't have a personal experience, we can still speak to it, whether it's a point of reference from someone we know, or even bring you into the live and let you share your situation and provide commentary on it. So we're definitely going to keep this conversation going.
Yes.
Thank you again so much for your time and attention. Thank you, ladies.
I was going to say, and thank you
joining us,
for allowing me to be on this segment with you too. I really enjoyed it. Not because you guys are my sisters, but also because it was a really important conversation to have. So thank you for including me in that.
Yes. We're glad to have you, Mo.
Yes.
And having you in front of the camera.
Exactly.
She's normally behind the camera, so we're happy
This is
to
normally how you see me.
We're going to try to get her to come back for another one too.
I don't mind.
Yes. Yeah, she has some credentials too, guys. So definitely check her out. Over with her amazing husband too, Adam, DJ Crazy Boy Madrid. They are definitely into the filming scene. They have done a lot with bringing up LOL Jacks, if you haven't heard of them, and they are always
now 48 hours.
And now 48 hours. Yes, the 48 hours film production
and women in film. The list keeps
going.
Yes. all because I found the purpose. This is all. So just real quickly, that's the beauty of when you come out of and finding that positiveness. A lot of beautiful things can come out of it. So that's just, everything you're saying is just a beautiful positiveness that came out of realizing it doesn't matter and happiness is what we make it out to be. So, yeah.
And that's why you have all of this stuff going on now
Exactly.
with this one over here.
Comfortable in my own skin.
Yes.
Can't tell me nothing now.
Yes. Just on a side note, why was homegirl trying to pick out the perfect picture, talking about she trying to take care of her light skinned sisters? I'm like, oh, you ready?
You know, the mom props, but
I'm just saying, oh my gosh.
And then we picked the same picture.
And we picked the same picture. But I
But no, it came from some of my like red bone friends. They'll say like their friends like say with like a darker skin friend or a brown skin friend, and they'll take a picture and say the lighting wasn't good, and so we fix it for ourselves with a filter for us. But that same filter that fixes us will like wash y'all out, make y'all look like Casper and totally pale. So I was like, let me not do that to them.
Right.
You know, because I used to just do that. But.
It was hilarious to say the least. I was like, I've never even thought. I don't use filters. I'm so old school. I just take the picture.
I just naturally look pretty.
No,
I don't need a filter.
I just do the picture. Like, okay, that's it. Picture's over.
Send.
And I said there's like 4 options.
So I'm learning from them. It's like I have no ideas to do with cameras and filters.
Like,
no, I have nothing but Facebook. I'm the old grandma of this
I
world.
don't have it, but the
I have
filters,
nothing.
on Snapchat are like
that alone makes me consider it, but like I already have enough apps going on, so I'm like I met my quota. All right, you guys. Well, again, if you have a question after you watch it, the playback later, you can still ask us then. I'll keep checking the notifications. But this is Tiff Tales Live, Therative with Dr. Debbie, featuring special guest Monique Madrid, and we're signing out. Bye.
Bye, guys. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Do something great for 2019.
Awesome.